Good morning and welcome back to Here and There. My name's Phil Venditti and today is our first episode of Here and There in the month of June. We think of June as being a month of weddings, and this month, a little bit later, we're going to talk about a kind of wedding between technology and international communication. Before we get into a description of those episodes, however, I'd first like to tell you about a visit that took place earlier in the month of May by a group of 5 Japanese visitors from the prefecture of Saitama, Japan, under the auspices of Rotary International. These 5 visitors spent 5 days in the valley. Actually, they were hosted in Orofino, but they spent one major day going up the river, up the Snake River, and then they gave a major presentation at a joint meeting of the Lewiston and Clarkston Rotary Clubs, as you can see from the footage here. Their impressions of this part of the country, as you might expect, were extremely favorable. They all want to come back, and I think it was a wonderful example of international understanding and goodwill, which, as I said before, was hosted by the Orofino Club. Now, what are we going to do this month with technology and international communication? We're going to be talking about some of the technological tools that are used to make international communication possible. As you might expect, some of these are pretty familiar to us, such as fax machines. Some of them may be less familiar, or we're perhaps less used to using them ourselves, such as email and perhaps the World Wide Web, with all of the World Wide Web sites that exist in the world. On the screen, you'll see a number of statistical oddities and surprising factors having to do with technology. One of the ones that struck me the most is that there are now 320 million World Wide Web home pages. And when I say now, I mean about a month ago. By now, there are probably quite a few more than that. What this tells us is that really technology for international communication is burgeoning. It's booming. It's growing much faster, for instance, than the telephone did, or even than television did. It took telephones almost 50 years to reach 100 users, and it took television about 25 years to reach 50 million users, whereas computers and the World Wide Web have already hit that in the short span of 12 or 13 years. So we're really talking about something of magnificent and unprecedented proportions in terms of technology. We'll be talking about how technology is used for international communication by people right here in the Valley. We'll visit with Alicia Shedd, who is a family member, and we'll be talking about how she and her family use technology. Then we'll be hosting 2 Japanese students from Lewis Clark State College, one named Nina, the other named Sachiko, who are going to talk about how they use technology at LCSC for international communication. And finally, we'll talk with a business person, a director of an international business located here in the Valley, and one of the students brought to the Valley by that business. So we'll get a good overview, I think, of how people right here, like ourselves, can use technology for international communication. I'd like to thank our friends from Staples, the business superstore, business supply superstore, for their support for this month's broadcast. They've been most cooperative, and as you can see on the screen, they have a wide variety of the technological tools that make international communication possible. So I think our month ahead of us is going to be a very interesting one. I would say that there are probably things on the next few shows that technophiles and real technical kinds of people might find a little tedious because they're so used to them already. On the other hand, many of these tools are not familiar to many of us, and I think you'll be pleased to see that people just like ourselves can learn to use these techniques and these tools for international communication. Because, after all, here and there, in technology and in all other ways, we're all in the world together.